worship, I'm going to ask you to stand and rejoice in songs with me today. Father, we're thankful for your worship. There is no shadow that has ever overcome your light, and there is no rival that could ever stand against your might. You've always been with us. Every battle you've already won. You've already won. Come on, let's put our hands together. And there is no weapon that has ever left a mark on you, and there is no army with the power to conquer truth. You've always been with us. Every battle you've already won. You've already won. Oh, show me one thing he can't do. Show me a mountain he can't move. 'Cause he's the God of the breakthrough, and anything is possible. Oh, show me one thing that's too hard. Show me waters he can't part. 'Cause he's the God of the breakthrough, and anything is possible. It's possible. Say, and there is a kingdom that's advancing at the speed of light, and in his kingdom every dead thing is bound to rise. Oh God, our Redeemer, he is faithful to revive. Oh, he will revive. Say, show me one thing you can't do. Show me a mountain he can't move. 'Cause he's the God of the breakthrough, and anything is possible. Oh, show me one thing that's too hard. Show me waters he can't part. 'Cause he's the God of the breakthrough, and anything is possible. It's possible. Hey, we rejoice in your presence. We dance. All of my fear I will turn into praise. Shake off despair as I sing out your name. A victory dance I will dance out in faith. I will crush disappointment and break every chain. Say, all of my fear I will turn into praise. Hey, shake off despair as I sing out your name. A victory dance I will dance out in faith. I will crush disappointment and break every chain. Say, all of my fear I will turn into praise. Shake off despair as I sing out your name. A victory dance I will dance out in faith. I will crush disappointment. To show me one thing he can't do. Show me a mountain he can't move. 'Cause he's the God of the breakthrough, and anything is possible. Oh, show me one thing that's too hard. Show me waters he can't part. 'Cause he's the God of the breakthrough, and anything is possible. It's possible. We believe in your power, Jesus. You have moved the mountains. You split the water. Oh, and freedom came, and it took over. We got our freedom from you, Jesus. Oh, we're thankful. We're thankful for you, Jesus. We worship you. Oh, we believe revive. And if he's done it again, he will do it again. Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. We sing, your promise still stands. Sing it out, sing. Your promise still stands. Sing, great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, and this is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. Oh, see, I know the night won't last. Your word will come, and your word will come to pass. My heart will sing, and my heart will sing your praise again. Oh, Jesus, you're still enough, and Jesus, you're still enough. So keep me within your love. Oh, my heart will sing, and my heart will sing your praise again. Oh, your promise still stands. Your promise still stands. Say, great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. And I'm still in your hands. I'm still in your hands. And this is my confidence. You never fail. Oh, your promise still stands. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness. You're faithful. I'm still in your hands. I'm still in your hands. And this is my confidence. You never failed me yet, and I never will forget. I will never forget of your power. I will never forget of your glory. I will never forget of what you did at the cross for me, Jesus. And I know that you would do it again, because you love me and you love us. We worship you, Jesus. Oh, I've seen you move, say, I've seen you move. Hey, you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do. I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you. I've seen you move. You move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do. Your promise still stands, and great is your faithfulness. Faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, and this is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. Your promise still stands, yes, and great is your faithfulness. Faithfulness. And I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. And I never will forget. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness. Faithfulness. I'm still in your hands, and this is my God, and you've never failed me yet. Thank you, Father, for your power. We're excited to know that you will do anything for us, Father, because you love us, Father. We thank you for worshiping with us. You can stand and pay attention to the screens. Middle schoolers, you are dismissed.
Good morning and welcome to Victory Church on this last Sunday in October. If you're new, we'd like to be able to keep you updated on what's happening and help you and your family discover all that's available for you here. Please take a moment and head to victorylakeland.org/connect card. Or if you prefer, you can stop by the Guest Central tent as you leave so we can meet you and give you a small gift as a way of saying thank you for being here today. As we approach the holiday season, we know that there are many families right here at Victory who struggle to provide gifts for their children at Christmas, and we want to make sure every Victory family can create great memories this year. If you're a single parent or currently unemployed family and you need help providing gifts for your children this Christmas, please complete a Dove Tree application today. Applications are available in the lobby or online at victorylakeland.org/dovetree, and in response, gifts may be donated to help give your children a Merry Christmas. And this Friday night, you have the opportunity to see Big Daddy Weave and Ann Wilson live in concert at Victory's North Lakeland campus. Tickets start at just $23, but for those who would like an extra special experience, you can upgrade to VIP tickets and enjoy exclusive early entrance, premium seats, a pre-show Q&A session with the artist, and more. Get your tickets today at victorylakeland.org/BigDaddyWeave. Also happening this coming weekend is the end of daylight saving time. Don't forget to set your clocks back an hour Saturday night before going to bed and enjoy an extra hour of sleep. Next Sunday, November 7th, we will kick off our 2-week 2021 World Missions Conference featuring outstanding missionary speakers, life-changing stories, and powerful videos from around the world. This is one of our feature events of the year, giving us a look into what God is doing to change lives through the financial gifts you give and the missionaries Victory supports. Be sure to join us and invite a friend for these uniquely significant Sundays. And on that first Sunday evening of the Missions Conference, everyone is invited to join us at 6 p.m. for our next Sunday night live service. We'll have an incredible evening featuring a challenging message from missionary guest Jacob Juster, coming to us from his mission field in Africa. And while the teens and adults are experiencing the special evening service, the Victory Kids team will have an incredible event in the Family Life Center just for kids, with pizza, inflatables, games, and a Bible lesson. This will be a unique and powerful evening, so invite your family and friends to be in church with you. Thank you again for being a part of today's service, and remember you can stay up to date all week at victorylakeland.org.
Well, good morning. It's so good to see you. Thank you for being with us today. We're going to have a wonderful, wonderful day. We did in the 9:30 service, and I totally believe that God is going to do the same again today. Let me just say, if you're brand new to our church, thank you for coming out. I've met a lot of new people today, and that's always just an exciting time for me personally to be able to do that. And if you're new to our church and I've not yet had a chance to meet you, I would love to meet you personally right after this service. If you would, take a moment, just stop by that big blue tent out front. We call it Guest Central. I'd love the chance to to get acquainted with you. I really, really would. But thank you for being here today. If you're newer to our church, we want you to just sit back and relax and enjoy the rest of the service. And to all the church family, it's always good to see you. And just for clarity, and you know this already, Saturday is not my favorite day of the week. Sunday's my favorite day of the week because I get to be together with you and worship God together, and we're challenged together, and that's a great, great thing. And I'm glad that you are here. I really am. Hey, we've got a lot of new members coming into our church today, and let me just say, before we welcome them, if you've not yet gone through Grow Track, I want to encourage you to do that. And it's just a wonderful way to learn more about the church, learn about the history of our church, a little bit about that. We don't camp out on that very much, about what do we believe, and that's important for you. If you're connecting with the church, know what that church believes in terms of like doctrinally or theologically. So we cover that a little bit, and then also we talk about how do you become a member of the church, how do you get connected to a small group, how do you find the dream team to serve on in church, who God created you to be. It's a wonderful time, and it's never been easier to go through, in my opinion, Grow Track than right now because you can do it all virtually. You don't even have to go to like an in-person class. You can if you want to, but you can do it all virtually, and it doesn't take a lot of time. It's like 4 sessions, and they're not long, drawn-out sessions, and you go through that, and then you just take that next step, and you become a member of the church like many people today. In fact, out of the information table, there's like a membership list of front, back side of people that are joining at both campuses today. And so here's what I want to do before we do anything else in this service. I want to pause, and I want you to put your hands together with me, and let's welcome all of our new members. Can we just do that? And we just welcome you. We are so glad that you are a part of our church and you're connecting with us. And for a lot of you, that's your logical next step to take. And I hope that you will. There's so many great things that are going on right now. The women's ministries, they have a bake sale that's coming up real soon. And it's an opportunity for you to able to bake like a homemade cake or homemade pie or homemade cupcake, something like that. In fact, if you sign up today, one of the things you'll notice is my name is at the top of that list. I wanted to get my name on there first. So my name is there, and I'm going to bake a cake. I'm going to use my mother's recipe, and I'm going to make, with God's help, a hummingbird cake. And it will, I believe, by the grace of God, be delicious. We'll wait and see. And I realize that in order to make that hummingbird cake, I've got to catch a lot of little hummingbirds between now and then. And that's not always easy. They're fast little critters. But I've got a big net, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. So I hope you'll sign up and help us. It's a great way to raise money for their event that will happen after the first of the year, but to make some great desserts available during the Thanksgiving season. I hope you'll do that. If you've got small kids or grandkids, hope you'll come out to the North Campus tonight at 5:30. We've got a family fall festival. It's going to be a great, great time. All kind of games and all kind of candy and great music and great food. And I hope you'll come out to that. The weather, I looked at the weather forecast early this morning. It's going to be beautiful tonight, and I hope you'll come out and be a part of that. Now, if you want to save yourself a little time and trouble, you can actually purchase your wristband right after. I think it's only like $2. And that sort of entrance in there. And that's all. If you want to get some food, and there's going to be great food, hamburgers and hot dogs, I think barbecue and things that go with that, you can go ahead and get your Fall Festival food tickets out there at the information table as well. That will help you to be able to move things forward in case there's longer lines tonight. So I hope you'll come out. I'll look forward to seeing you there. Hey, we're going to continue our series. I want to talk to moms and dads to be, and grandparents even. And I'm excited to get into this message with you today about parents and about kids. But just before I do, I want you to listen to David Rutherford.
Hi, my name is David Rutherford, and I've been attending Victory Church for 32 years. I remember going to Victory Church, the very first service at Southeastern College in the big auditorium. I remember going to Sunday school there. I've got specific memories of the friends that I went to Sunday school with, and many of them are still friends today. I've got a lot of fond memories of Victory in the very beginning, and now I am volunteering with Victory Kids in the front desk, so you might see me there when you're checking in or checking out your kids. So now I enjoy it. I enjoy watching everybody come in, building relationships with the parents, building relationships with the Sunday school teachers, and getting to see my kids. And I say I've been a Christian my entire life, and I have been. Of course, you go through stages of your life where you focus on things more than Christ or more than your spiritual walk. So I would say when my wife and I had kids, that's when it's really, concrete. I'm responsible for not only my wife, but for these kids. And so I've got to lead by example. I've got to be more like my parents were for me and share the love of Christ with them. So every night we have a Bible study. We'll go through an interactive Bible app, and we'll take turns on answering questions. The kids really enjoy that. They get a lot out of that, and it's interesting to see how we'll learn about a topic on a Thursday night, and then it's talked about the next Sunday. It's awesome to see the kids come up with their own prayer requests and see how thoughtful they are and how genuinely concerned they are for their friends and their family. So we're trying to get prayer as much involved in their life as it was in ours. All of our pregnancies, my wife and I's, our pregnancies have been difficult. They've never been a walk in the park. The most recent one was the most difficult and the one that we needed the most amount of prayer with. So at one point in time, we thought that we ended up losing the baby, and then on a Friday, and then you got to wait all weekend to go back to the doctor to go through everything and see what's going on. So prayer just the whole weekend as really huge. It comforted us, it gave us peace, and then on Monday, I think it was a Monday, we found out that it was perfectly healthy. As Pastor always says, you've got only a window that you can help shape their mind and help them grow and develop that foundation that they need to live the rest of their life.
Oh, that's great, isn't it? David is a great young dad, young husband, and we've known him for a long, long time. And he's got wonderful parents. And, a lot of you may know Tom and Becky. They've been a part of the church like forever. And just the way that they poured into David and all of David's siblings, it's a big family. And now that's what David and his precious wife are doing, pouring it into their kids. And that's really what I want to talk about today. And I hope you're going to take some really good notes. Some of you are in the thick of it right now. You're raising young kids. You're like, I'm right in the middle of it. And those of you that feel that way, you are so glad that you were just able to check your kids in to the kids area, and you can sit and relax for just a few moments. And so we're glad that you are able to do that. There's others of you that you're not yet parents, that you hope to be one day, God willing. And I want you to take some good notes. Others of you, you're sort of like us. You've been through that stage, already. And now it's not about kids. It's about grandkids. And there's some information that I'm going to give. We got a lot of feedback after last service. So I pray that it's going to be encouraging to you as well. But what it's really all about is just what the Bible tells us to do. It's this idea of we raise a generation. If God were to bless us with kids, and we raise a generation spiritually, we'll talk about that. And then hopefully they raise that next generation, their kids, and perpetually, should Jesus comes, it just keeps going on. And we're going to talk about that, and it's a powerful thing. And it's within the realm of reality for you to be a part of. So if you're a parent now, or you hope to be a parent, or you're a grandparent, or you just want to take some really good notes so that you can help somebody that you know and love, I would encourage you to do that. Now, I want to start with a little story that I absolutely love. I think kids are great. I really do. And it tells us in this little story I came across some time ago. It says the pastor is walking down the street one day when he notices a very small boy trying to press a doorbell on a house across the street. The boy isn't very tall, and the doorbell is way too high for him to be able to reach. After watching the little boy's efforts, the pastor steps across the street. He walks up behind the little fellow and placing his hand kindly on the child's shoulder, leans over and gives the doorbell a solid ring. Crouching down now to the child's level, the pastor smiles at the little boy and asks him, "Now what do we do, little man?" To which the boy replied, "Now we run. We better run. We better get out of here." Well, You know, raising kids are a lot of fun. There's a humorist, his name is Dave Barry, and he says this quite well. He says, a perfect parent is a person with excellent theories about raising children and no actual children. And that is true, isn't it? Before you're a parent, you have all these great theories about how wonderful parenting is going to be. And then you probably end up tossing a lot of those out the door as soon as you have kids. Now, I think if you are a parent of young children or you have had that experience sometime in the past, I think you would be in agreement that being a parent is a demanding responsibility. I'm going to ask you for some feedback today. So if you believe that, if you've been there or you're there now and you say, yeah, it's demanding. Being a parent, just sort of wave at me like this. So I know that you're with me. Yeah, it's demanding. It pulls something out of you. And quite often, I hear it in the voice of Brent and Nicole. We have 3 kids. All 3 are married. Brent's the only one who has kids. And he and Nicole, and they have 4, and Kinley's 8. And I had a chance to FaceTime her before the first service this morning. That's always great for Papa to be able to do, to have some time to FaceTime with my grandkids. So Kinley's 8, and then Landry's 5, and she's a busy girl. And then Brody is 4. He just turned 4, and y'all pray for Brody. Brody really needs Jesus. Of all the 4, I'm telling you, Brody needs Jesus. And he's 4, and then Paisley, who just took a couple of steps this week, she's 11 months old. And so sometimes in their voices, either Brent or Nicole, I can hear it. I can hear the stress. I can tell that they're exasperated. I can tell that they are tired. I can tell that they are being pressed to the limits. And sometimes, because he said it to me so many times on the phone, I've heard Brent say this 100 times. I'm talking to him. He sounds stressed. He sounds like his RPMs are like sort of elevated a little bit. And then he tells me what's going on. And he says, and he'll say it just like this. I've heard it so many times. Dad, you just don't understand. You just don't understand. To which I want to say, listen. What do you think we did with the 3 of you? Just handed you over to a pack of wolves to raise you in the wild while we had no involvement with you whatsoever? Yeah, we may not have, had them all that closely lined up. But yeah, we got a sense of what you feel, and a lot of us feel that way. And I have to admit that it is tough at times to being a parent. But I can also tell you, if you're a parent now or you hope to be one in the future, it's probably the funnest time that I've ever had in my entire life. I've got fun kids. I just really, really do. And growing up, it was always fun. And Brent will tell you, it's rare actually to have 3 of my kids in the same service, which I was able to do last hour, 9:30, because Brent flew down Friday morning from Illinois. And so all 3, Brent, Drew, Audrey's husband, Zep, they were all in the service this morning. That's a unique thing and a thing that I enjoy. Brent will say to this day that the funniest guy that he's ever met in his entire life is his brother, Drew. And Drew's funny now, and he's always been funny. In fact, I was talking to somebody recently, and I told them this account. In fact, I told somebody at the office this week that when the church I went to pastor before I came here, I was like really, really young. Like I'm in my late 20s. In fact, it's so ironic looking back. I became the pastor of this great church, this large staff, and it's funny looking back. I was the youngest guy on the staff, and I was the lead pastor. How many of you know something's wrong with that? And so, but it was a great time, and it was really important for the church. And so, we acquiesced. It's not that we didn't want it; we just hadn't thought about it. Church thought it'd be a really good thing if there would be like this official pastoral installation service. So they got in contact with the district, who was at that time, the district superintendent, my district superintendent. And that term, you may not be familiar with that, but it just means like the district superintendent is like the overseer of of the churches that are part of our denomination in the state, which now numbers somewhere 340 to 350 churches. So the church got in contact with him, wanted him to come and do a pastor installation service. And I'm already nervous. I mean, I'm in my 20s. I'm like, I've bitten off more than I can chew. And, oh, man, and I'm nervous about this day. And here comes as a lead pastor. This is my boss. It's like the overseer of all other churches. And the service went well, and we were grateful. And then Audrey was not born yet, but both of the boys were like really, really young. And so afterwards, we just wanted to be great hosts for our guests, our superintendent and his wife, who were probably at that time, they were in their late 60s, early 70s, and both passed away now. And so Brother Matheny and his wife, we asked them, we'd love to take you to lunch if you've got a few moments before you've got to travel back, and we'd love to take you to lunch. To which he said, we'd love that. We'd love that, Jeff. And then he said words that just caused a shiver to go completely down my spine. He looked at me and he said, we'd love that. And he said, why don't you let the boys ride with us to the restaurant? And how many, if you knew or know our boys, that's like very unnerving. How many of you parents have ever learned how to communicate to your kids without ever saying words? And when they said, hey, we'd love for the boys to ride with us because we know our boys, and I'm looking at them and I'm communicating big time. I'm hoping they get this transmitted into their little brain somehow. I'm like, you know what? I want you dudes, this is my boss. This is my district superintendent. I'm the new pastor in this church, and I don't want to be installed and fired all in the same day. So I'm like looking at them, trying to communicate with them through my eyes. You boys better be on your best behavior, and if not, you're going to be on restriction until Jesus comes back to take the church home. I mean, that's what I'm feeling. I'm looking at them, and I'm like, sure it'd be. Yeah, it's fine. And I'm just trying to get their attention. So they're like, yeah. And so, we lead the way, obviously, because we know what the restaurant is. The Matheny's are following us. And they get out of the car, and I'm looking at the boys. And then, my heart falls just a little bit lower because when Brother and Sister Matheny get out of the car, they're just laughing their heads off. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, I don't know what's been said. I don't know what's been done. I'm not going to. Oh, please. And then, so Brother Matheny, I remember this like it happened yesterday. Drew's so small. He's probably about 5. And Brother Matheny reaches out and takes his hand, and he's walking into the restaurant with him. And just the nature of this restaurant, you walk through the lobby, and then you came through a much smaller section that was like newspaper stands and vending machines and all kind of stuff in there. And then you walk through that, and it opened up into this big restaurant that had this great food. So we go walking in, and I'm looking at the boys, and I'm thinking, why were they laughing when y'all got? I've just got so much going through my mind. And so Drew, he's just got that little grin on his face, that little impish grin that has me like really nervous. And he's just walking by Brother Matheny, and I remember this so well. He's walking, and then all of a sudden, Drew just comes to a stop. Right beside a cigarette machine, and he points down to a particular brand, and he looked at Brother Matheny, and he said, that's the kind my daddy smokes right there. That brand right there. I'm like, you are on restriction till Jesus. And Brother Matheny laughed his head off, and he just thought that was the funniest thing. For months afterwards, I'd have pastors come up to me from different parts of the state, and they'd be, I heard what your boy did to you. That was funny. I'm like, yeah, that was really funny, wasn't it? That was like really good. He's just such a clown. And I'm thinking, boy, that's a whole nother story. But if you're a parent already, or you hope to be in the future, then I want to encourage you today to take some really good notes. And just before we consider this important topic in greater detail, I want to mention, I think, what is one of the most crucial responsibilities that we have as parents. I want all of you parents who are currently parents, or your parents to be, I want you to listen to what I'm about to say. One of the most important responsibilities, a fundamental responsibility that we have as parents is to gradually over time, to help to transfer our children's dependence upon us, because they come into this world and they depend on us for everything, to change them, to bathe them, to feed them. They can't do anything for themselves. And gradually over time, they grow older. And then what we need to do as parents is over time, as they get older, to reach that point where we hand them over to where they're no longer as dependent on us, and they have like this total dependency upon God. And that's just really, really important. And maybe you're thinking, well, where did that idea come from? And that idea actually comes from the Bible. It's established in the Bible. And there's a passage I want to take you to today. And let's go ahead and look real quick at the first two verses of this. Oh, I'm sorry. That may have been, I don't know how that got in there. That may have been from a football game in Jacksonville yesterday. I'm not, guys, I'm not sure how that got, because I said I wouldn't say anything about the game. And technically I'm not. Never promised I wouldn't show anything, but all right, you can take that down. Here we go. I apologize. I'll talk to the tech team afterwards and find out who's responsible for that. And they're in big trouble, I'll assure you. Okay? You cool? Let's go. Deuteronomy 6:1-2. These are the commands, decrees, and laws the Lord your God directed me to teach you to observe in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess, so that you, look at this, it's really important, so that you, your children, look at this next phrase, and their children after them, that would be your grandchildren, may fear the Lord your God as long as you live, by keeping all his decrees and commands that I give you, and so that you may enjoy long life. And this is a great statement that is made here by the writer, and what it is saying to us as parents is that we have this challenging, demanding responsibility, but also this fantastic opportunity to teach and to model these commands from God and the teachings of Jesus, so that our children might love and honor God. And that's what we want. That's the score at the end of the day, that our kids, who God is helping us, as imperfect parents as we may be, to be able to raise them to love Jesus and to honor Jesus in a huge way. And we don't have perfect kids. Why? Because they didn't have perfect parents. But I look back now, and when I looked over, they were to my left in the 9:30 service, all of them sitting together. And I looked at the three of them, and I said, it's really a really good thing, a really good feeling in our hearts right now, to be able to look and say, hey, they're grown, they've got families of their own, they're all married, and to know that here at this stage, all three of them love Jesus and they love his church. And, that just feels like a great win for me. And now, Brent's, all three are married, but Brent's the only one, and I mentioned that he's got four. And now it's just, we tried to model this, and we tried to exemplify this. Not perfect, but hopefully totally authentic. And now they grow up, and now to be able to watch Brent and Nicole, to invest in their kids, and to have devotions with their kids, and to keep their kids in church every single weekend, and make that a priority for that family. That's a real cool thing. And that's just what this scripture is saying, that when we do this in the way that God wants us to do it, here's what we do. That God, think about this, and honestly, when we were busy raising small kids, I couldn't even envision this. It wasn't even the forefront of my thinking. But now, at this stage, to be able to say, here, by the grace of God, God empowered us to be able to raise our kids, who are going to raise their kids, who are hopefully going to raise their kids if Jesus tarries. And as parents, we get the power to influence, with God's help, generations that are yet to be born. Can I just say that again? God gives us the power with his grace to be able to affect generations that are yet to be born, and to see our kids who pour into their kids, who hopefully pour into their kids. And that's what this passage is talking about, that these kids may grow up and love and honor God. And as a mom or dad, God has placed that, opportunity, a fantastic opportunity within your realm of possibilities. Now, let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 6 again. No pictures, I promise. The scriptures, they're really, and I'll find out who that person was. I promise you, I will. Deuteronomy 6:4-5. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God. Look at this now. Love the Lord your God with all your, say it with me, and all your strength. Love God with all of your heart. And when you and I look at this, one of the very best things that we can do, and we don't need to move on without mentioning this, one of the best things that we can do for our kids is to let our lives personify what it means to love God with all of your heart. You're not perfect. I wasn't perfect. I'm still not perfect. But I think, got a lot wrong, but I think our kids, if you had to talk to them between services, would have said, you know what, Dad wasn't perfect by any means. But we knew Dad loved God with all his heart. And that's what I still want to do. And that's what you want to do. Not to love God with a divided heart, not to love God with a lukewarm heart, not to love God with a compartmentalized heart, but raising little ones that God has entrusted into our care, and to be able to say, you know what, here's what they get to see if I do what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to love God with my whole heart. God's going to be like the utter priority of my life. I'm going to love him in it's not going to be like segmented where, God is just one small part of a multifaceted life, and it's like God, and then all these other things. It's, like a pie cut in slices. It got God, and got career, and got hobbies, and got sports, got this. And no, it's like I love God with all my heart. That's what we want to say as moms and dads. Love God, and our kids see that, and they know that. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't want them to excel in a lot of other areas. I told you I'd like to have your feedback. So how many of you, if you're a parent, small kids now, or you hope to be a parent, or you have been, at some point in the past, how many of you know you always want your kids to excel in like their education and grades? If that's you, just wave your hand at me. And that was always big. And, just want you to do really good in your education. Once you, that's going to lead you to the next step, hopefully in your career, whatever your career is going to be. So I want you to just work really, really hard in the classroom. Now, I do have to say, because this may encourage some of you that have made mistakes before. I don't know why we reached this decision. All I can point to at this point in time, looking back, is temporary insanity. But I remember this so clearly. Brent was already playing a lot of baseball when we moved to Lakeland a number of years ago. And so he was being, scouted by some different colleges, universities to play baseball. And then we move him. It's like now he's in a whole network and all of that. And so he had some opportunities ahead of him. And he took an opportunity that he felt good about, which was to receive a scholarship for Polk State. And I remember this like it happened just last week. I can remember him coming to us and saying, I've got a really, really good idea, and I want to just sort of pitch it to you. Where the baseball team went to class, where the baseball team practiced, where the baseball team played their games, and I don't know if it's still this way to this day, is over in Winter Haven. And he's like, there's 3 other baseball players. They're renting an apartment. They need one more roommate, and I think it'd be a really, really great idea for you guys to, help me. How many of you know what that means as parents? Fund me, financially fuel me for me to be able to share an apartment with 3 other baseball players. Now, it wasn't like, looking back, it wasn't like, Winter Haven's like a 2.5-hour drive every single day to go to class and practice. I mean, how many of you know it was within the capability to be able to drive to Winter Haven and back every single day, right? Wave at me if you believe that, but somehow we got sucked in. And here he is, renting an apartment with 3. And I can remember that when that happened, his social life went way up and his grades went way down all simultaneously. I can remember one time having a conversation with Brent and saying, Brent, I was just at a point of frustration. I said, man, I am really, you're having a great time, you're playing good ball and all that. So I'm having this conversation. I'm just really frustrated. I said, and here you are with a GPA of 4.0. Now, don't be mistaken. It wasn't that Brent had a GPA of 4.0. It's when you combined it with the 3 other baseball players he was sharing an apartment with. You add them all together. I think among the 4 of them, they may have had a 4.0. Are you with me? I'm like, dude, this has got to change. And fortunately, long story short, it did. But hit him about his junior year. It's like, I better get serious about the grades. But we want our kids to excel in grades and education, right? Talk to me, right? We want them to excel in music or arts. We want them to excel in their social life and sports and such. But how are we guiding them? How are we instructing them in regards to an authentic relationship with Jesus? And that's really what matters most. Andy Stanley, I love the writings of Andy Stanley. In a book that I read a few years ago, I brought along 3 or 4 paragraphs. And let me just read them to you before we move on. Andy Stanley in his book writes, home environments mirror the hearts of those who head the home. If you can't see this in your current situation, just think back to your own family of childhood. You can probably trace some of your current heart-related struggles back to that home environment. When it comes to shaping our children's hearts, modeling, listen to this now, modeling will always win out over instruction. Next paragraph, Andy Stanley writes, no one impacts the health of a child's heart like mom and dad. Intentionally or unintentionally, on purpose or by accident, we build into our children or we take away. And this may be our greatest responsibilities as parents. Last paragraph. He writes, academics are important, but I haven't met too many adults who trace their problems back to where they went to school or what their GPA was. And I mean, that really resonates with a lot of us. And I want to just say, and I'll say it a couple of times because we've got to understand this as parents. Listen now, listen. Moms and dads, and that's what many of you are, hope to be, moms and dads. You cannot impart what you do not possess. Let me say that again. You cannot impart into the lives of your kids, or anybody else for that matter, what you do not in your own life personally possess. I want you to look still here in Deuteronomy chapter 6, this last part that we'll look at, verses 6 through 9. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Here we are back to hearts again. And the writer said, I want you to impress them on your children. I want you to impart this into the life of your kids. You can't impart what you don't possess. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. And we know, I think, the essence of what the writer is saying in this passage. It is that we are to lead our children spiritually. This is like a full-time, never-ending job. It's like, you see it on the screen when you get up, when you go to bed, just when you're walking, whatever you're doing, and let Jesus, his teachings and fundamental life of a Christian become a part of your ongoing conversation and leading and training and teaching and guiding and influencing. It's just that important. Lead our children spiritually. And I would just tether to that when we're leading our children spiritually, it would be a good idea to do that very intentionally. Because if we're not intentional about it, it'll never happen. If you say, I'd love to do devotions with my kids, whether you do them first thing in the morning or at evening before they go to bed, it's not going to happen unless you're totally intentional about it. Because life is too busy. Life is too cumbersome. There's too much going on. And at the end of the day, it's just too easy to tuck them into bed and say, well, we didn't have time and they're tired and they got to get up early to go to school. I've got to go to work and we'll just do this tomorrow. No. You got to be very, very intentionally. We lead them spiritually, and connected to that is we lead them intentionally. Can I just add this to it? We also, as we lead them spiritually, we're intentional about it, but we're also going to, and this is more pronounced today than ever before, we lead them counterculturally. I mentioned this game. You saw the picture from a certain game that will not be mentioned in a certain city, a certain stadium, among two teams that will go unmentioned. But I just walked around, and I wasn't judging. I'm the last person that needs to judge anybody about anything. But I am a people watcher. And I'm like, wow, look at where we're headed. And it's quite frightening to me. My kids are older now, but I've got grandkids already here and hopefully a lot more to come. I've all said to my kids, if Jesus had 12 disciples, I think it's only right that I should have 12 grandchildren. Get busy about the work of the ministry. But I wasn't judging, but things that I saw yesterday, I don't even know how old these kids were. But I'm like, oh man, who's speaking into their life? Who's being a godly influence in their life? And again, not judging, but just saying that. And it would break my heart. I wasn't mad about it. I wasn't judging, but I'm like, oh man. I wish that young girl there had a dad speaking into her life. Oh man, look at that young guy over there. I wonder what his family, I wonder if anybody's leading him spiritually. I wonder if anybody's speaking into his life that if you follow the way of culture, and you better know this about being a mom or dad. It's, man, the direction our culture has taken our kids is more frightening to me. And I wish I had time to talk about it today. I don't. But it's more frightening to me than at any other time in my lifetime. You're going to have to be intentional about leading them spiritually. You're going to have to lead them counterculturally. And I think also connected to this is leading them relationally. It's been fun raising kids. It's demanding, crazy expensive. But it's been like the funnest thing I've ever done in my life. And, you know, there's a lot that I got wrong, and you could sit them down and they could probably tell you. But here's one that I feel like I didn't get an A in necessarily, but I got a good solid B, and that is focusing more on the relationship than the rules. And the rules are important. They're like really, really important. And we had rules. I can remember, you know, just certain times where we just have to, you know, lovingly but firmly just lay down the rules. Just lay down the rules. And yet I was always driven by the statement that I'd heard, maybe even, I can't remember quite the time sequence, but Josh McDowell, who was like this family expert many, many years ago, I heard him say one time, and it stuck with me, and this is what I try to do. Josh McDowell, and if you're a parent or parent-to-be, you may want to write this down as well, as I did a number of years ago. Josh McDowell, one time, I don't know where I heard him say this, but he said, rules without relationship equals rebellion. And I thought, man, that guy's on to something. Rules, if you got a bunch of rules, but you don't have the relationship, it will equal rebellion. So we had a lot of rules, man, we did, because we wanted to lead our kids intentionally, wanted to lead them spiritually, wanted to lead them counterculturally, but we wanted to have the rules born out of the relationship. And I have to say, that's a really good thing for you to do. So we love God wholeheartedly, we lead our children spiritually. Now, if you happen to be taking notes, and I hope that you are, in the book of Proverbs, we can easily identify what I think are at least 7 definitive ways to train our children. And maybe I'll speak to 1 or 2, but I've only got like 6 or 7 minutes left, so I'll hit this rather quickly. In Proverbs, we find where it tells us our responsibility that we have as parents is, number 1, is to teach our kids how to manage God's money. And that's a really, really important thing. And that's in the Proverbs. And that's a responsibility that we have as parents. Teach them how to manage God's money. Number 2, we train them how to select their friends. And that's really, really, really important. And can I just tell you, as a dad to a daughter who's now grown up and married, I mean, to teach them, listen, can I just help you with this? You're the parent. They're not the parent. You ready? That's worth coming just to, you're the parent. They're not the parent. And if we want to help them, train them to select their friends. Let me just speak to you for just a moment. If you're a dad and you have a daughter and she's sort of getting up into that dating age, you got to really, really help her to choose the right kind of little fellows that she can or cannot be around. And some of you are reaching that stage right now. And since I've already come through that stage, if you would like to get a copy of my multi-page application that I use for young boys interested in my daughter, along with a criminal background check that I would run on them and the blood work that would be necessary for them to undergo, I'm happy to make that available to you. Email me. I'll send you the document. It is so thorough. It will probably crash your computer, but you'll have it there and you can use it at your discretion. But we teach them. That's our responsibilities. We train them to select their friends. And number 3, we train them to guard their words. And that matters a whole lot. Can I just tell you, your kids can mimic what you say. And if you ever hear something come out of the mouth of your child that came out of your mouth, then it sounds a lot different coming out of their mouth, and it'll get your attention. And we've got to help with that. We train them to guard their words. We should train them to protect their minds. And if I had time, I'll talk to you about the scary influence of social media and what that can do to a child's mind. We should train them to be responsible. We should teach them to fear and to revere God. Not fear as in, oh man, I've got to be so careful because here's what God would do. God would he'll just whack me good if I step out. No, not like fear, I'm afraid of God, but just this reverence of the awesomeness and the power and the greatness of God. And we've got that responsibility. The Proverbs would say that. Now, I know that I'm about out of time, and nearing the end of this talk, what I want to do is I want to leave you with several questions for you to think about, but I want you to take them beyond just the thinking of them to acting upon them. Here's some questions for your consideration. Please write them down. If you're a parent now, or you hope to be a parent, or there's somebody that you know and love that you could help with a little bit of information, here's some questions I think are worthy of thinking about and acting upon. Number one, do you love God with all your heart? As I mentioned earlier, not a divided heart, not a lukewarm heart, not a compartmentalized heart, not a easily fragmented heart. But do you love God as a mom or dad with all your heart? And let me just tell you, your kids are smart enough. They know. They know. You think they don't, but they don't. Do you love God with all your heart? Number two, are you leading your children spiritually? Are you leading your children spiritually? Listen, are you doing devotions with them? I know that sounds easy. I know that sounds pragmatic. I know you're like, Jeff, why do you even have to mention that? You know why I do? Because there's a lot of parents that don't. And you got to be intentional about that. And you got to make it happen. Lead your children spiritually. And we want to do everything. We believe in this big time to come, in a support role to help you it's a support and cause to flourish, what you're already doing in your home. But I'm just saying, as moms and dads, that's your job. That's your job. It's not our job is a support role. It's your job to lead them spiritually. And then let us come behind you and reinforce and support what you're already doing. Here's another question. Are you teaching them and training them to become more like Jesus? Are you teaching them and training them like, even when they're young? And, can I just say it's a whole nother talk, but if you take your whole life and you make all your kids' decisions, you will prohibit them from being able to make decisions on their own. And you need to do it in the proper framework when there's safety and security of your influence in their lives. But, teach them that when they've got to make a decision, that there is a decision among decisions that must be made that will honor Jesus most. And that would always be a great way to go. I've read the Bible many, many times, and I'm not saying that to be bragging, but I just love the Bible. But I was doing my devotions just this week, and there's a verse I ran across. It's not going to be on the screen because it came late in the game after my message notes were already done. But I saw this verse, and I've read it obviously before, but it just jumped out at me when I saw it. It's actually in 1 John 4:17, the B part of the second part of the verse. And it says this: we can face God with confidence because we live like Jesus in this world. And that's what we do as moms and dads, and we're helping our kids. We're like, hey, I'm not perfect, but you know what? To the best of my ability as a mom or a dad, I'm going to live like Jesus in the world. And I think that would be a good thing for you and I to model for our kids. Here's another question. Are you praying for and with your kids? Here's another question. Do they respect that although you are not perfect, do they recognize that you are absolutely authentic? Not perfect, none of us are. But are you authentic? Are you saying one thing, but then living a life that's contrary to what you even say, what you even expect of them to do? They know, they see, they really, really do. Another question. Do they hear more about the rules or more about the relationship? Oh, the rules come so much more easily out of the context of a great relationship. They really, really do. Another question. Have you demonstrated that Jesus and His church is a clear priority for your family? Those of you that have been around for some time, I've used this example before. There's a message that our kids pick up on when we say to our kids, you are going to school today. Now, how many of you have kids that they fake like they're sick about 3 out of the 5 days of a school week? I'm sick. I can't go to school. I'm feeling bad. I need to stay home. But you know what you do as a parent? If they're not really sick and you're discernible and you know that they're not really sick, what do you say? Get your little behind up out of that bed. You are going to school. And you make them go to school, right? 5 days a week? You do. And these same kids who have to go to school 5 days a week, unless they are legitimately sick, man, they get the message. If his parents, when it comes to church, well, it's been a busy week, and we had so much going on, all those ball games yesterday on Saturday, all that yard work, all that housework, and kids, we're gonna sleep in. We're just, and they get the message. Hey, I've got to go to church. School like every day, but church, we're hit and miss, and they know. They pick it up. Have you demonstrated that Jesus and His church is a clear priority for you and your family? And last of all, have you led your kids to Jesus? Have you? Or you've just modeled, poured, influence, impart what you do possess, and you reach that stage, and you're just like, hey, I think they're old enough now, and you can explain to them what it means to give their life to Jesus. Wow. And you look at them and you say, hey, Would you like to give your heart to Jesus? It will be one of the most amazing things that you'll do, one of the greatest privileges that you would have. Oh, they may receive Jesus in kids' church or, maybe somewhere else, but man, when that age comes, if they've not done that yet, to be able to lead them. Hey, you want to pray this prayer with mom and dad, or mom or dad, and would you like to give your life to Jesus? Wow, that's an amazing thing to lead them. See, it's going to be hard for you to do that if you're not a Christian. And I know that a lot of you are. A lot of you that are moms or dads to be, or grandparents, or you're single, whatever the case would be. A lot of you, I would imagine the majority of you in this room right now or watching online, you're already Christians, but some of you are not. And today would be a great, great day for you to give your life to Jesus. I want you to stand with me right now. I want you to stand with me. Everybody's standing. And I just want to remind you what's going on in your life right now. The scripture teaches us that Jesus is standing right now. And he's knocking on the door of your heart. He's hoping that you're going to open the door and let him come in. And some of you are saying, you know what, Jeff, there's no way that Jesus would never knock on the door of my heart because of who I am and what I've done with my life. And how many times I said I would and I didn't. And how many times I said that I wouldn't and I did. And I just got so much baggage in my life and so many things, and there's just so much in my past, and there's no way that Jesus would want me into his family. I'm saying to you that Jesus would love to be in relationship with you, and even now he's knocking on the door of your heart. And this is not just your emotion. This is not you just saying, hey, I'm a mom and dad and I've got a sensitive spot in my heart for my kids. No, this is the Holy Spirit drawing you to Jesus and telling you that you need a relationship with Christ, and you can do that right here, right now, and I hope that you will. So would everybody bow their head? Would everybody close their eyes? And if you're here today and you're not yet a Christian and you want to pray this prayer with me, that maybe one day you'll pray with your son or your daughter, with your kids, and you want to give your life to Jesus right here, right now. Every head is bowed. Every eye is closed. I want you to put your hand straight up in the air right now. Just put it straight up in the air as high as you can. Thank you, thank you, thank you. High as you can, and you can put it right, and you can put it right back down. I want to pray for you today. I want to pray a prayer for those of you that you're just saying, you know what, Jeff, I've heard this today. I want to be a godly parent. I want to be a godly mom. I want to be a godly dad. I want to lead my kids spiritually. I know that that's one of the most important things that I will ever do with my life. And that's what I want to be, a godly mom, a godly dad. I want to lead them spiritually. If that's you, still heads bowed, eyes closed, just wave your hand at me. Just say, man, that's what I want to do, Jeff. I'm with you. All in, all in. That's the kind of parent that I want to be in my life. And I want to pray for those of you today while we pray. Those of you that are single parents. And some of you have sat here today and you're like, man, if this is hard doing it, with a mom and dad, I bet people don't even know how difficult it must be. I'm the product of being raised for quite some time of a single mom. I know what it's like to live in a single parent family, and it's not easy. And I want to pray for single parents. I want to pray for blended families, because sometimes you merge a relationship and with that comes kids. And sometimes there's complexities with that. And who's going to tell who what and who's going to discipline and the challenges of that. I know that among us today are those of you that you want to have kids, but yet you've not had kids yet. And you're like, you know what? Why is it happening? I want to have kids and God's not yet blessed me with kids. I want to pray that that will become a reality for your life. And Father, right now we just do that. Right now we just pray. Lord, I pray for all these moms and dads, all these parents that raise their hand. They want to be a godly parent. They want to lead their kids spiritually. And I know that you will empower them to be able to do that. I know that you will help them to be able to impart something that they, Lord, that they possess. And for those, Lord, that are here today, that raise their hand or watching online, and they've not yet given their life to you, that they would say, even now, Jesus, come into my life. Jesus, forgive me of my sins. Jesus, give me a brand new start. Help me to be the man, the woman. Help me to be the student that you want me to be. Lord, I just give my life to you now. I give my life to you. I need you in my life. I want you in my life. Jesus, come into my life today. And Lord, I pray for single parents. Lord, I pray for them right now. I know that mom that's trying to do it all by herself, that dad that's trying to do it all alone, I know it's a difficult and weighty assignment, but I know that you are on their side. I know that you will extend to them a special grace and mercy. For those that are going through the complexities of a blended family and how that gets complex, God, I pray that you'll give them wisdom and direction. I pray for those that have yet to have children, that it's something that they long for. God, that you would cause that to become a reality. Lord, we know that in all these things, you're a powerful God. And there's nothing you cannot do. You're a miracle-working God. You will move the heavens and the earth. We believe that, to respond to the cries and the prayers of your people. And we love you and we adore you. Hey, I want us to sing this great, great song together and expect God to do great things and amazing things and powerful things. We're going to sing this one last song together and then we're out of here. Let's all worship God together, can we?
Amen. We believe in your power, Jesus. You'd restore every family, the God of revival. We've seen what you can do, oh God of wonder. Your power has no end. And the things you've done before, in greater measure, you will do again. 'Cause there's no prison wall you can't break through, no mountain you can't move. All things are possible. And there's no broken body you can't raise, no soul that you can't save. All things are possible. The darkest night, you can light it up. Say, you can light it up. Oh God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome. Say, you've already won. Oh God of revival, you rose in victory, and now you see it, forever on the throne. So why should my heart fear? So why should my heart fear what you've defeated? I will trust in you alone. 'Cause there's no prison wall you can't break through, no mountain you can't move. All things are possible. There's no broken body you can't raise, no soul that you can't save. All things are possible. The darkest night, you can light it up. Say, you can light it up. Oh God of revival, let hope arise. Death is overcome. Say, you've already won. Oh God of revival, you're the God of revival. You revive every family. Come awaken the people. Come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out. Pour, sing it out. Every stronghold will crumble. And I hear the chains hit the ground. Oh God of revival, pour it out. Come awake, sing. Come awaken your people. Come awaken the city. Oh God of revival, pour it out. And every stronghold will crumble. bless you. I hope you guys go home encouraged by this word.